Do you recognize this country? Or this one? And what about this one? Well, this is what the United States might have looked like if the South had won the Civil War. The Civil War started because of uncompromising differences between the free and slave states over the power of a national government to prohibit slavery in the territories that had not yet become states.
When Lincoln was elected in 1860, he pledged to keep slavery out of the territories, causing the states in the South to secede.
But suppose the North had not won the Battle of Gettysburg, which was the turning point, and the South had won the Civil War and remained a separate country.
Well, if the South had won the Civil War, I think we would see a dramatically different world today, not just in North America, but I think around the world. At the conclusion, when the South comes out of the Civil War intact, I think the immediate effects would have been much more beneficial for the South, but the long-term effects probably would have been detrimental to both the South and the North, and the world as a whole.
If the states had won, the Western territories might have gone to the Confederacy, leaving a gap between the eastern part of the United States and the western states.
So the other thing I think would be interesting is what would have happened in the West, because many of those, there weren't really that many Western states, they were just territories. So for instance, would the South have founded new states in Arizona and New Mexico, what we know of those states, Colorado, Utah, and would the North continue to expand in the northern part of the western states?
There could also have been the possibility of Mexico retaking some of the western territories because the South may have been too weakened to fight another war with Mexico.
If Mexico had taken over those lands that they lost, Mexico would control the Colorado River, which means no water for Las Vegas, no water for Los Angeles, no water for San Diego. So the agriculture of California, the grapes, the wine, none of that would exist without the water that comes from the Colorado River.
With the United States being broken up, the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad might not have happened.
There is also the question of how much influence would the United States have in world events. The United States may have not had enough power or influence to be involved in the First or Second World Wars.
Compared to what we have now, I think a separated South and a separated North, probably we would end up with two separate economies that would not be as strong individually as world players. You may have a North that, would have had certain values, but they wouldn't have the ability to portray those values in other countries and in other conflicts over the last, 100 or so years.
Of course, the question of slavery is perhaps the most important. It would not have been abolished, and it is hard to say how long it would continue.
Even though there probably would have been continued trade between the South and the North, I think political pressures abroad, overseas, probably would have pressured them into ending a system of slavery. But you probably would have seen a type of Jim Crow era that would have extended far past, the 60s and the Civil Rights Movement. We probably would even be seeing it. It probably would have resembled more like an apartheid system, I think, potentially.
I think the big question would be what would have happened to slavery in the South had the South won and there had been a Confederate States of America. Probably eventually slavery would have gone away, maybe just for economic reasons. That's one of the theories, that it was just getting too expensive to have slaves. And other places of the world would have started producing cotton. For instance, in Egypt, became a major cotton supplier. So it would have been very difficult for our Southerners, wealthy Southerners, those that owned slaves, to keep them.
Fortunately, this alternate version of history is not what happened.
Slavery did end, and the United States became the country we know today.
Oh, I can see it right now. I planned it out. See? It's gonna be right on top of a big building, and it's gonna say Louisa Jane Richardson. I can see it right now. Can't you see that? You can see that. Yeah. Hey, Sally.
Hey there, Rosie. Are you going to the big game tonight?
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
I'm super pumped for it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, guess what I got?
Oh, I bet you got the new model 17 Ford Roadster with ultra high beam flood canvas.
Whoa, you guessed right. That's exactly what I got.
That's pretty swell. You know,
Yeah.
Frankie, he's got one just like that. He got it yesterday.
Yeah, except his is blue and mine's black.
Definitely. So I will see you then.
See ya.
Okay. Go Wildcats!
Hello?
Yeah, absolutely. 92B coming up. We're good.
Hey Julia, how's it going?
It's good. I've almost got this light bulb thing figured out.